Hello and a very good evening to you. Whatever it is you have done today, I hope it has been fulfilling. Allow me cap that up with another delight as I bring you a fresh episode of the program. Tonight, the Gateway State is in focus, but at the level of representation at the Senate. My guest is all prepped and eager to be part of tonight's conversation, and I reckon you are as well. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. Welcome to Thursday's edition of The Mandate. My guest tonight was governor of Ogun State from 2003 to 2011, at the time under the People's Democratic Party, PDP. He has since 2021 switched sides, joining the ruling All Progressives Congress, and in the last election he swept 9 local government areas to clinch the Ogun East senatorial seat. His Excellency, former Ogun State Governor and now Senator-elect Ogun East Senatorial Zone, Otumba Gbenga Daniel, joins me from Maryland in Lagos State, not Maryland, America, Maryland here in our own backyard, Eko, to share his thoughts on the 10th National Assembly and his concept of leadership at the level of representation at the Senate. Welcome to the mandate, Your Excellency, and congratulations, by the way, on your elections. I hope you're still in high spirits.
Good evening, Nnamdi, and good evening to all viewers nationwide.
Very well, Your Excellency. I am sure your supporters in Ogun State and your fans across the country are still excited about your election, and they're very happy to see you back. With respect to Your Excellency, you seem to have taken a back seat for some time in Ogun politics, maybe national politics as well. And, you know, is this your victory? Is this a comeback of OGED? And what does leadership at this level translate to for the people of Ogun East and Nigeria as your larger constituency?
Thank you very much. First thing first, after one has had an opportunity to serve a state for all of 8 years, what one should normally do is to sit back and then see how to support whoever has come to take over the mantle, rather than continue to be a thorn in the flesh. And that's precisely what I've tried to do. After serving the state for all of 8 years, I thought it was necessary for me to sit back and watch and support without making a lot of noise, and that's what we have done. Talking about comeback, there was never a time that I was totally out of the polity. Don't forget that at some point in time, while I was in PDP, I contested for the post of the national chairmanship, and then had to withdraw at the last minute when I found out that it was being zoned to another location. And thereafter, don't also forget that I had the privilege of leading the Atiku Abubakar campaign as his campaign DG. And in the process, I can assure you that we went through the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. I can say safely that in the last few years, I've gone to all the 36 states of the Federation on at least 2 occasions. So you cannot really say that I have not been active. But if you talk about coming to the Senate, yes, having been governor for all of 8 years, what else can I do? We already have a competent president-elect. And the minimum I can do is to see what I can do from corner to corner. And that is why I opted to go and run for the Senate. Of course, a large number of our people felt it was time, having been out of direct activity for all of about 12 years. And I'm so happy and excited that the victory was, as you have rightly pointed out, overwhelming. We won in all the 9 local governments that constitute Ogun East. And I think we won virtually all the 103. I think we won about 101 out of the 103 wards in Ogun State. So it was quite overwhelming. We thank God for that.
Your Excellency, when it comes to experience, You know, you could easily argue that you have some form of experience. I mean, aside having to brush up on maybe the legislative procedures and House rule or the rules of the Senate, you could very well argue that over the course of 8 years as governor, you did glean or you did get some executive legislative experience. I don't know if you can hear me very well, Your Excellency. Can you confirm that you can hear me very well?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm sure in terms of experience, you could very well argue that because you were governor and you had some executive legislative experience, it will be easier for you to blend into the 10th National Assembly. Would that be the case, or are you going there entirely as a newbie, ready to learn and perhaps learn from your senior colleagues who will be there and with no form of experience at all? Or would your experience as governor of a state and what you've gleaned in terms of executive legislative experience help you in this regard?
There is no doubt doubting the fact that learning is a continuous process. It is indeed the first time that I'm going into the National Assembly, and to that extent I'm going to patiently learn from some of our colleagues who have been there before us, and I have no problems at all about that. But having said that, as you have rightly proceeded, as governor, I've had cause to interrelate with members of the assembly, both at the state level and at the national level, and to a large extent I enjoy the cooperation of members of the National Assembly. I cannot claim to know completely their ways. I've started trying to read the relevant other books, which definitely will assist. But definitely, I'm not unaware of some of the processes and procedures that the whole process entails. But like I said, you continue to learn from cradle to the grave. I'm not too proud to learn from some of our own colleagues who have had the opportunity of being there ahead. My own appreciation of what has to be done is more or less a cooperative environment, because I do know that when you look at what has happened in the past, in locations where you have had an opportunity of the legislature and the executive cooperating, we've seen progress. Quite on the contrary to locations where the legislative has turned itself into opposition to executive, it's not necessary, especially when members are of the same party. If you are of the same party, you have exactly the same ideology, the same programs, then the relation should be more complementary than competitive, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Let's just oppose leadership at the state level and representation at the Senate in this instance. How do you plan to manage dwelling interest, and by that I mean conflicting interest, knowing that national interest will at all times override any other interest? This, of course, must be a familiar terrain for you as a former state chief executive. By that I mean, how do you confront possible ethical dilemmas, I mean, as a result of conflict of interest that confront you in your performance as a duty, as a public official, now as a senator?
Well, unfortunately, I can't see any conflict of interest at all. I can't even find any. You see, it all depends on why people go into government. When you look at our environment as a people, the challenges that we are facing on a daily basis, the problems are the same, whether it is at the state level or the national level. Permit me to talk about what we were told in school about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This hierarchy of needs cut across. People are looking for food in their stomach, they are looking for clothes, they are looking for shelter, and they are looking for welfare. So all the interests are supposed to be coterminous. Where this conflict comes is where people now subject personal interest to what you can call the overall public good. If we're all looking at the same challenges that faces our nation, and when you look at our country today, the challenges are the same all over the place. security challenges, poverty challenges, technology challenges, infrastructural challenges. These are the same. And whether, for instance, the road is constructed in one state or the other, the road is supposed to take one person from one location to the other. Everybody is going to benefit from the road. So ordinarily, there shouldn't really be a conflict of interest. And whatever appears to be a conflict can be resolved if, for instance, we are on the same page. And what do I mean by the same page? Let us put the people, the masses of the people at the center of whatever we do. I remember when I was governor of Ogun State, there was only one credo that I used. I've never been governor before. I wasn't in public service before. But when I got in there are only two things I just did. I said, look, on this chair that I'm sitting down, I will observe two things. Whenever I want to take a decision, I will ask myself, is this decision in the overall interest of the public good and the generality of the masses of people, or is it for a few selfish individuals? If the answer is yes, it is for the overall good of the people, I will take it without thinking. The second thing I did was very simple. This thing I want to sign, can it face public scrutiny? Can I show this document I'm signing on NTA, for instance? If the answer is no, it will be for me to sign. But once I can answer that yes, I can support this under any circumstances, I will sign. So what I'm saying is that once you agree that the public good is the reason why you are in government, either as legislature or as executive, then it shouldn't be difficult to resolve any whatever conflict there is. In fact, I have not seen any conflict at all. I've seen a little bit of competition. Okay, we want to put an institution in this state. I want it in my state. You want it in your state. So that's really healthy. Okay. What is left for us to make agreements why it is better here and there. And once we've agreed, it shouldn't really be a difficult thing there. So I don't see this conflicts of interest at all. No, I don't.
Wonderful. And I hear you, and I hear you clearly. You know, I like how you've juxtaposed Maslow's hierarchy of needs to some of our current realities. It does make sense. And that leads me to asking you something maybe basic or maybe not so basic. But in terms of setting an agenda or an agenda template for the 10th National Assembly, are these perhaps some of the issues that you'd like to see being debated and talked about on the floor of the House? In fact, let me make this personal and ask you, Your Excellency, what kind of bills are you possibly looking at sponsoring yourself, you know, as a matter of importance on the floor of the Senate?
It this way. If you understand what is going on in our country today, there's a whole lot of resentment to anything that is governance. Whereas in the African setting, especially in Nigeria that we have, regrettably, virtually everything depends on government. So anything you want to talk, there is a head of government. So it is important that we get government's rights. However, the people have become, to a large extent, disillusioned, disoriented, and disappointed. So I think the first thing we need to do is to reset the agenda by creating an environment where people will start to trust government again. That for me will be the first thing. And how can we do it? It's very simple. I've said it earlier on. The needs of our people are the same. When we get on the floor of the Senate, we should just ask ourselves those simple questions. These decisions we are about to take, this debate that we are running, is it in the overall interest of the generality of the masses of our people? Once we can answer that the answer is yes, we are good to go. Okay. And I can assure you, all of these challenges that we are facing as a country, if we start by ensuring that fella Adenukuda Kuti sang this song, we all thought it was a joke. And he says that except we buy our own, we're just wasting time.
Very true.
One fine day, for instance, I was talking to one of our female friends, and I said that, look, you people, I'm hearing from statistics that Nigeria is spending about 10 billion to import all this your hair, all this your wig. 10 billion of money that doesn't exist to go and get, and I said, where are these wigs coming? Oh, they say the expensive one is human hair coming from India, from dead bodies. Don't we have dead bodies in Nigeria that can go and process their hair? If
that may not all be true, but I get the sense of what you're trying to say here and the message you're trying to pass. I also do appreciate, I mean, giving us some foundation of, you know, of just the kind of vibrancy we will begin to see from you in the Senate as upon proclamation of the 10th National Assembly, of course. But, you know, let me use the opportunity to say something I'd wanted to say since I have this opportunity right now. I have always assumed, you know, that, in fact, I've had to search over time, especially when you were governor, to see if I could see a single picture of you somewhere with a straight face, not smiling. For a very long time, I just assumed, you know, you stuck to me as the smiling governor, you know. So I never saw any picture of you with a straight face. But, well, the thing is, not until much later anyways, but the thing is, you always seem to exude this quiet, composed mien, and I wonder if that would work on the floor of the Senate, where vibrancy and being almost forcefully vocal with some air or some level of activism takes a senator a long way. Which style do you plan to embrace and apply at the Senate?
I think we all must appreciate, I said it earlier on, that the position of the National Assembly vis-a-vis the executive is not that the Assembly should be leader of opposition. The relationship should be complementary. And when you understand where I'm coming from, the first thing that a member of the National Assembly who has been a governor needs to do is to remove the executive gap. Because there at the National Assembly, you are just equals. It's a level play. You are all senators there, and you're just colleagues. And you all probably have only one vote, probably except the president of the Senate who can use the hammer to hammer his ways. Everybody has one single vote. So moving forward, I think the skill at the National Assembly is the skill of relating with other people. Okay. In a convivial environment to advance your cause. The fact that you go there and make noise does not mean that anything is going to happen. For instance, people have talked about the current Senate president. I have been quite impressed because I remember that people kept saying that, oh, this Senate president is a rubber stamp of the executive and all of that. But in recent times, I have seen that carefully about 16 bills have just been signed by the president. And some of these bills have to do with the kind of restructuring that we've been talking about. So without fighting, without throwing chairs, in a convivial environment, you see that this Senate, despite whatever criticism anybody may have been able to achieve certain things. I'm even told that even before the end of the term of the president, there might even be other bills. For instance, the petroleum industry bill. You know how long we've been at this?
Yes.
The electoral reform bill. All of these things have been, you know, so as far as I'm concerned, this nice Senate is achieving the objective without creating a fracas on the floor. Well, I think the biggest mistake that people are making is that they expect the chambers to be the leader of opposition to the executive. And nobody gets anything done there because at the end of the day, whatever laws are passed needs to be assented to by the president. And if the president fails, they can also go and use their veto. But all of that is not necessary. I think what we all need to appreciate is that whether we like it or not, the political process, the democratic process, is not a revolution. It's an evolution.
We're fast losing time. My director just informed me that I have less than 3 minutes to go, unfortunately. I want to use the opportunity of these 3 minutes that I have to ask you 2 quick questions that I would appreciate if you're very quick in your response. Number one is this. If it's possible, I'll make this a close-ended question. Well, you've talked about vibrancy, and, you know, it would seem that you're choosing to continue along your path of being composed and almost analytically precise, which is a good thing. I hope you will not be a sleeping senator. Yes, no.
No, I've never.
You will never
I've
be.
always been a workaholic all my life.
Okay, great.
So.
That answers it. Then finally, Your Excellency, before I let you go, finally, sorry, I'm trying to make sure that you hear me clearly here. Finally, there are insinuations out there, especially coming from certain quarters within Ogun State there, that yes, you may have crossed over to the APC, but deep down that you're still a PDP man. In fact, they've used certain biblical phrase to describe you like the voice of Jacob or the hand of Esau. And that is what played out this election. Is that true? Are you still a PDP man, Your Excellency?
No, I'm in APC. But I also think that people are making a mistake. If I joined PDP in 2001 and up until 2021, I have been in PDP, which means that for 20 years I have been the face of PDP. Does it now mean that the day I now shift base, all of those associations of 20 years I will now throw away? Life is not like that. And in any case, when I look at all the people who are playing and who are talking, who was it in PDP? The APC is just a new party. In Ogun State, my governor and I were in PDP before. The governor before him were all in PDP before. At the national level, the national chairman of our party was in PDP. The national secretary of our party was in PDP. Everybody was in PDP. I think what has happened in our country today is not so much about party constitution. It's about what we want to offer and the ideas we stand for and the personality. So in the last election, I can assure you that people voted not so much for the party but for the person.
Indeed.
You know, and our voters have become quite sophisticated now. They're able to say that this is the person we're looking for, whichever party he is, that's where we're going to vote. I can assure you that in the last election.
Very well, Your Excellency. I'm sorry to butt in here, but we're out of time.
Yes,
I got votes. Yes.
I got votes across party lines, yes.
Yes, very well, and I hear you, and I think this was essentially what played out during the elections, and we've talked about that. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. Two-term governor of Ogun State and now Senator-elect Ogun East. I mean, we'll be monitoring your activities on the floor of the Senate, and hopefully you would, like you've assured us, you will not be one of the sleeping senators. You will not be one of the activist senators, but you will be one of the calm, composed, calculating senators who are results-oriented. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for coming on the mandate. I would like to wish you plenty of luck and wish your constituents luck as well as they monitor your representation of them. It's been a delight having you on our program tonight. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Namdi. Thank you very much, our viewers. Thank you very much.
And that's it for tonight. Well, it's been a delight like we promised. I would like to assure you that tomorrow would even be more interesting. Join us same time for yet another episode of our program, The Mandate. My name is Namdi Odipo. I'll see you then. Bye for now.